The night shift at SETI's Deep Space Monitoring Station in New Mexico was usually uneventful. Dr. Eliza Chen had spent countless hours staring at screens filled with cosmic data, hoping for that one anomalous signal that would change human history forever. Tonight, her coffee had gone cold as she analyzed the latest readings from the Kuiper Belt. Then the alarm sounded. "What the hell?" Eliza muttered, her eyes widening as she saw the readings. "Morgan, get over here now." Morgan Wu, her colleague, and the station's senior astrophysicist, rushed to her terminal. "What have you got?" "Something massive just passed Neptune's orbit, and it's slowing down." Morgan stared at the screen, his face illuminated by the display's blue glow. "That's impossible. Nothing that size can decelerate like that." But the data didn't lie. Something approximately 1/5 the size of Earth's moon was entering our solar system, and it was changing velocity in a way no natural object could. Within hours, every major space agency and observatory on the planet confirmed SETI's findings. The object, now designated Traveler, continued its controlled approach toward Mars' orbit, where it eventually came to a complete stop. Humanity faced an undeniable truth. First contact was imminent. Colonel Maya Rivera stood before the hastily assembled crew of the UEF Venture, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel. At 43, she was the United Earth Fleet's most experienced commander, with 3 deep space missions under her belt. Her dark hair was streaked with gray and pulled back in a severe bun, her brown eyes scanning the faces of the 20 specialists chosen for this historic mission. "I won't sugarcoat this," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of their task. "In 48 hours, we will rendezvous with the unknown object. We represent all of humanity on this mission. The fate of our species may very well rest on what we discover and how we respond." Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, the mission's lead xenobiologist, raised his hand. "Colonel, the latest scans indicate the object has an internal atmosphere and possibly artificial gravity. Are we still proceeding with the original boarding protocols?" Rivera nodded. "Yes, but with extreme caution. First contact team will consist of myself, Dr. Tanaka, Lieutenant Parker for security, and Dr. Okafor for linguistics and communications." Lieutenant Samuel Parker checked his pulse rifle for the 3rd time that day. As the ship's head of security, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were rushing into potential danger. "Ma'am, with all due respect, we know nothing about what might be waiting for us in there." "Exactly why I'm leading the team myself, Lieutenant," Rivera replied. "Sometimes leadership means being first through the door." As the Venture accelerated away from Earth, carrying humanity's representatives toward the unknown, nobody could have predicted what awaited them, or that Earth itself would soon be facing visitors of its own. The Traveler was even more impressive up close. The Venture's crew stood silently on the observation deck, staring at the massive cylindrical structure that stretched for kilometers, its surface a mix of ancient scarring and gleaming metal that reflected the distant sun. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Aisha Okafor, the team's linguist. At 32, she was the youngest senior member of the crew, recruited from the International Communication Institute for her groundbreaking work on theoretical alien language structures. "And old," added Hiroshi. "Look at the impact craters on the outer hull. This thing has been traveling through space for, possibly, millennia." Colonel Rivera studied the structure with military precision. "I'm seeing what might be entry points. Dr. Chen, are you detecting any power signatures?" Dr. Eliza Chen, who had been transferred from SETI to the mission as the ship's chief science officer, checked her readings. "Minimal, but yes, there's definitely something running in there. Life support systems, perhaps. And wait." She adjusted her instruments. "I'm detecting movement inside." The crew exchanged glances. "We're not alone," Rivera said quietly. "Prepare the shuttle. First contact team, gear up. We're going in." The shuttle docked with what appeared to be an airlock on the Traveler's midsection. The team, dressed in environmental suits, moved cautiously through the connection tube. Lieutenant Parker led the way, weapon ready. "Atmosphere readings are stabilizing," reported Dr. Chen through their comms. "Oxygen-nitrogen mix, similar to Earth but higher oxygen content. Temperature is rising to sustainable levels." The interior of the Traveler was unlike anything humans had imagined. Vast corridors stretched in multiple directions, illuminated by soft, ambient light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. The architecture featured flowing, organic curves that somehow blended perfectly with obvious technological elements. "This is beyond anything we theorize," Hiroshi said, his voice filled with awe. "The integration of biological and mechanical components. It's as if the ship itself is partly alive." They moved deeper, discovering enormous open chambers that could have housed thousands. Everything was perfectly preserved, as if the occupants had simply stepped away momentarily. "It feels like a ghost ship," Aisha whispered. In what appeared to be a central control room, Eliza discovered active systems. "These displays are still functioning on minimal power," she said, studying the alien technology. I think I can access the ship's logs or navigation data." As she worked, Colonel Rivera received an urgent transmission from Earth. "Colonel, this is UEF Command. We have a situation." The voice of General Hassan sounded strained even through the digital connection. "Multiple unidentified craft have entered Earth's atmosphere. They've landed outside major cities: Washington, Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, and others." The team froze. "Hostile action?" Rivera asked, her hand instinctively reaching for her sidearm. "Negative. They've established communication and are requesting diplomatic meetings. But, Colonel, they're asking about the object you're investigating. They called it a Class 105 world ship, and they say it belongs to them." Before Rivera could respond, Eliza called out from the alien console. "Colonel, I've accessed something. It appears to be the ship's destination data. According to this, Earth was its programmed final destination. This wasn't a random encounter." Lieutenant Parker's voice was tense. "So we have one alien ship that was heading specifically for Earth, and now another group of aliens has shown up demanding it back. I don't like where this is going, Colonel." "Dr. Tanaka," Rivera turned to the xenobiologist. "What exactly is a world ship?" Before Hiroshi could answer, a door they hadn't noticed before slid open on the far side of the control room. Beyond it lay a vast chamber filled with thousands of transparent pods, stretching as far as their lights could penetrate. Inside each pod was a sleeping figure. Not human, but humanoid, copper-skinned beings with 4 arms and faces covered in fine, short fur. They floated in some kind of suspension fluid, appearing peaceful in their slumber. "I believe this answers your question, Colonel," Hiroshi said softly. "A world ship is a vessel designed to transport an entire civilization across the stars. These beings were coming to Earth for a reason, and now someone else has come to claim them," Rivera said grimly. "The question is, do we let them?" On Earth, representatives from every nation gathered at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The chamber had never been so packed, with world leaders who would normally send delegates choosing to attend in person. UN Secretary General Amara Osi addressed the assembly, her voice steady despite the historic pressure of the moment. "Today marks the most significant moment in human history. We are not alone in the universe, and our visitors have requested this meeting to deliver an important message." At her signal, the massive doors at the end of the hall opened. A hush fell over the crowd as 3 tall figures entered. They moved with unnatural precision, their bodies covered in glossy black exoskeletons that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their faces featured no discernible mouth or nose, only 4 glowing purple eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, with long, jointed limbs that bent in unusual places. The central figure raised a multi-jointed arm, and when it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, perfectly translated into each listener's native language. "We are the Void Empire," it announced. "We have tracked one of our vessels to your solar system, a Class 105 world ship, an ancient relic of our civilization. We have come to retrieve it." The Secretary General cleared her throat. "We have indeed found a large vessel near Mars. Our scientists are studying it now. May I ask why this ship is so important to your people?" The central figure's eyes pulsed slightly. "The world ship contains technology beyond your comprehension. It is part of our heritage, our birthright. We simply wish to reclaim what belongs to us." "And if we refuse?" asked the Chinese president, his translator struggling to keep his tone diplomatic. The alien turned its 4 eyes toward him. "That would be unfortunate. We do not wish to cause harm, but the world ship must be returned to us." As the meeting continued, scientists around the world studied footage of the Void Empire representatives, comparing their appearance to the data sent back from the venture. One thing became clear: the beings in the hibernation pods aboard the world ship were not members of the Void Empire. They were something else entirely. Back on the world ship, Colonel Rivera made a decision. "We need to wake one of them up," she said, looking at the sleeping aliens in the hibernation chamber. "Are you sure that's wise?" asked Lieutenant Parker. "We don't know who they are, or if they're dangerous." Hiroshi studied the closest pod. "These pods have been active for what appears to be thousands of years. The technology is incredible. I think I understand the basic controls, but Eliza should double-check my work." Eliza joined him, examining the symbols on the pod's control panel. "These match patterns I found in the navigation system. I think, yes, this should be the release sequence." Rivera took a deep breath. "Do it, but just one. Parker, stand ready just in case." Hiroshi pressed a sequence of glowing symbols. The pod hummed to life, its cover sliding away with a soft hiss. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the alien's large amber eyes fluttered open. It sat up slowly, looking around in confusion until its gaze settled on the humans. Instead of showing fear, its face formed what appeared to be a gentle smile. "Visitors," it said in a melodic language that none of them understood. Then it touched its throat, adjusting something around its neck, a small device they hadn't noticed before. When it spoke again, the words were heavily accented but understandable English. "Unexpected visitors. How very interesting." The alien climbed carefully out of the pod, standing slightly shorter than the average human. "I am called Eridan. I am a guardian of the Lumina." It looked around the chamber at the thousands of sleeping beings. "My people, they still sleep. We have reached our destination." Then Rivera stepped forward. "I'm Colonel Maya Rivera of Earth. We found your ship near our planet." Eridan's amber eyes widened with recognition. "Earth. We've reached Earth at last." A look of joy crossed his face, followed quickly by concern. "How long have I been asleep? Has anyone else found us?" Eliza answered. "We detected your ship 3 days ago. And yes, others have found you. They call themselves the Void Empire. They've landed on Earth and are demanding we give them this world ship." The effect of her words was immediate. Eridan stumbled backward, his 4 hands grasping the edge of his pod for support. "No," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Not the Void. Not after all this time." He looked up, his eyes now filled with fear. "You must not give them this ship, no matter what they promise or threaten. If they claim the world ship and its technology." "What?" Rivera asked. "What would happen?" Eridan's 4 hands made a complex gesture of what seemed to be grief or horror. "Then all that my people sacrificed to reach Earth would be in vain, and your world would share the fate of our homeworld. Total annihilation." Eridan led the human team deeper into the world ship, his 4 arms occasionally gesturing toward ancient technologies that hummed quietly after millennia of dormancy. The corridor they traversed widened into a vast chamber with a domed ceiling that displayed what appeared to be a star map, pinpoints of light swirling in a 3-dimensional projection. "This is the memory hall," Eridan explained, his voice carrying a weight of both reverence and sorrow. Here, we preserve the story of our people, the Lumina, and our journey to find Earth. Colonel Rivera studied the alien's face, noting the complex emotions that played across his features. You need to tell us everything, Eridan. Why were you coming to Earth specifically? And what exactly is your connection to the Void Empire? Eridan's amber eyes dimmed slightly as he gestured toward the center of the room. A pedestal rose from the floor, and when he placed all four hands upon it, the star map transformed into scenes from another world, a beautiful planet with 2 moons, covered in spiraling cities that blended harmoniously with lush forests and crystal waters. Lumina Prime, our homeworld, he said softly, once the center of a peaceful civilization that spanned 27 star systems. The image shifted, showing tall, sleek vessels with distinctive purple lights. 10,000 of your Earth years ago, we encountered another spacefaring race, beings of tremendous technological aptitude, but lacking in certain spiritual understandings. We called them the Void Dwellers, for they had adapted to live in the darkness between stars, having destroyed their original homeworld through unchecked technological expansion. Lieutenant Parker's eyes narrowed. The same beings that are demanding this ship on Earth right now. Eridan nodded, his expression grim. Yes, we welcomed them, shared our knowledge, our resources. For centuries, our peoples coexisted. But the Void Dwellers coveted our greatest achievement, the world ships. The projection changed again, showing massive vessels like the one they stood in now. We built the world ships as exploration vessels, designed to sustain entire communities for generations as we studied the cosmos. The Void saw them differently, as weapons of unimaginable power. Weapons? Dr. O'Keefer asked, her linguistic expertise picking up on subtleties in Eridan's translation. This ship is a weapon. Not by design, Eridan clarified, his 4 hands making a complex gesture that conveyed nuance his translated words couldn't. But the energy cores that power the world ships, what you might call zero-point energy matrices, could be modified for destructive purposes. The Void attempted to seize control of our fleet. When we resisted, the projection showed Lumina Prime again, but this time engulfed in purple fire, its cities crumbling, its oceans boiling away. They exterminated 90% of our population in a single day, Eridan said, his voice barely above a whisper. Those who survived scattered across the stars. Most were hunted down. A few of us escaped aboard the last remaining world ships. And you came to Earth, Rivera completed the thought. Why? Eridan deactivated the projection and turned to face them fully. Because, Colonel Rivera, Earth is special to us. Very special. He reached out, touching her hand gently with one of his own. There is something you should know about your species and mine. Something that will explain why the Void Empire is really here. Before he could continue, Dr. Chen's voice came urgently through their comms. Colonel, the Venture sensors have detected multiple ships leaving Earth's orbit. They're heading this way at incredible speed. Rivera looked at Eridan, whose face had turned ashen. The Void Empire is coming for the world ship, the alien whispered. And they will destroy anyone who stands in their way. Back on Earth, the tension in the United Nations Assembly had reached a breaking point. The Void Empire representatives had issued an ultimatum. Surrender control of the world ship within 12 Earth hours, or face consequences. Secretary General Osei had called for an emergency closed session of the Security Council, where military leaders from around the world presented a sobering assessment. The Void vessels possess energy signatures unlike anything we've ever recorded, General Williams of the United States reported. Conservative estimates suggest their weapons technology exceeds our most advanced systems by at least a century. The Chinese General Lai nodded in agreement. Our analysts believe a single one of their ships could neutralize our entire nuclear arsenal before it reached orbit. So we have no choice but to comply with their demands, the Russian president asked, his face grim. Secretary General Osei stared at the holographic display showing the world ship near Mars and the Void vessels now rapidly approaching it. Before we surrender anything, I want to know what Colonel Rivera's team has discovered. They've been on that ship for 6 hours now. They must have found something. Her aide rushed in, tablet in hand. Madam Secretary, we've just received a priority transmission from the UEF Venture. You need to see this immediately. On the world ship, Rivera had made her decision. We're not surrendering this vessel to the Void Empire, not until we understand exactly what's at stake. She turned to Eridan. You said Earth is special to your people. I need to know why. Right now. Eridan led them quickly to another chamber, this one smaller and more intimate. At its center stood what appeared to be a sealed container of some kind. This is what remains of our genetic archive, he explained, activating a control panel. The container opened, revealing thousands of crystalline structures suspended in an energy field. When the Void began hunting us, we knew we needed a sanctuary, somewhere they would never think to look for us. The crystals projected images, DNA strands that twisted and morphed, showing comparisons between different genetic codes. 50,000 Earth years ago, our explorers discovered your planet. Your species was still primitive then, but we saw great potential in you. Eridan's eyes met Rivera's. We also saw compatibility. Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, his scientific curiosity piqued. Compatibility. Between our species. Yes, Eridan confirmed. Though physically different, our basic genetic structure shares remarkable similarities. We believe this is not coincidence, but evidence of a common ancestor species that seeded both our worlds billions of years ago. The implications struck the team like a physical force. You're saying we're related? Lieutenant Parker asked incredulously. Distant cousins, perhaps, Eridan replied. But more importantly, your planet was perfect, remote, unknown to the Void, and home to compatible life forms. So we made a decision that would forever alter both our destinies. The genetic projection shifted again, showing human DNA with subtle modifications. We introduced certain dormant genetic sequences into your ancestral population, nothing that would change what you were, but would enhance what you might become. Intelligence, adaptability, creativity, traits that would help you advance more quickly than evolutionary processes alone would allow. We did this hoping that one day, when we returned, you would be ready to join us as allies against the Void. Rivera's expression hardened. You experimented on our ancestors without consent. Not experimentation, Eridan countered gently. Protection. Insurance. We knew the Void would continue hunting us to extinction. We needed someone who could inherit our legacy if we failed. His amber eyes scanned their faces. Look at what you've become in such a short time. Your species has progressed from primitive tools to space travel in an evolutionary blink. Dr. Okafor had been unusually quiet, but now she spoke. The Void Empire, they've figured it out, haven't they? That's why they're here. Not just for the world ship, but for us. Eridan nodded solemnly. Yes, they've likely detected the genetic markers we left in your species. They've come to eliminate the threat before it fully awakens. Lieutenant Parker gripped his weapon tighter. What threat? The threat of what happens when Lumina and human technologies combine, Eridan said, touching one of the crystals. It projected a new image, a schematic for what appeared to be an immensely powerful energy weapon integrated into the world ship's systems. This world ship carries more than just our people and our history. It carries the means to fight back against the Void Empire. An alarm blared throughout the ship. Dr. Chen's voice came through the comms again. Colonel, Void vessels will reach our position in 20 minutes. They're charging weapons. Rivera made an instant decision. Eridan, you said this ship has defensive capabilities. Can you activate them? I can, the alien replied, but the systems have been dormant for millennia. They'll need time to power up. Then we buy you that time, Rivera stated firmly. She activated her comm link. Venture, this is Rivera. Prepare to engage defensive protocols. We're staying with the world ship. Colonel, came the shocked reply from her XO. The void ships outgun us by orders of magnitude. We don't need to win, Rivera replied. We just need to stall them. She turned to her team. This is beyond first contact now. This is about the survival of our species. Dr. Chen, upload everything we've learned to Earth immediately. Lieutenant Parker, help Eridan with whatever he needs. Dr. Tanaka, Dr. Okafor, you're with me. We're heading to the Worldship's bridge. The UEF Venture positioned itself between the approaching Void Fleet and the ancient Worldship. Captain Lee, Rivera's second-in-command, stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display as 7 black, angular vessels rapidly closed the distance. All hands to battle stations, he ordered. Deploy countermeasures and shields. Weapons systems online. The communications officer called out, Captain, we're being hailed by the Lid Void vessel. On screen, Lee commanded. The main view screen filled with the image of a Void Empire commander, its 4 purple eyes pulsing with intensity. Human vessel, it stated coldly, you will withdraw from your position immediately. The Worldship belongs to the Void Empire by ancestral right. This is your only warning. Captain Lee straightened his uniform, projecting a confidence he didn't entirely feel. This is Captain David Lee of the United Earth Fleet Vessel Venture. The Worldship is under Earth's protection while we determine its status. We request that you stand down your weapons and engage in peaceful dialogue. The Void Commander's eyes flashed brighter. Your protection is meaningless. Your technology is primitive. Your understanding is limited. Move aside, or be destroyed with the abominations you shelter. The transmission cut off abruptly. They're charging primary weapons, the tactical officer shouted. Evasive maneuvers. Lee ordered. Deploy all defensive measures. The Venture banked hard, narrowly avoiding the first salvo of purple energy beams that sliced through the space where they had been moments before. Return fire from the human vessel seemed to dissipate harmlessly against the Void ship's shields. Inside the Worldship, Colonel Rivera and her team had reached what appeared to be the bridge, a vast, circular chamber with viewports that showed the space battle unfolding outside. Eridan worked frantically at an ancient control console, his 4 hands moving in complex patterns across symbols that glowed increasingly brighter. The defense systems are awakening, he reported. But the primary weapons array needs more time. Rivera watched in horror as one of the Void Empire's beams struck the Venture, shearing off a section of its hull. Emergency force fields contained the breach, but the human ship was clearly outmatched. They won't survive much longer, she said grimly. Colonel, Dr. Chen called over the comms. I've completed the upload to Earth. All data on the Lumina, the Worldship, and the Void Empire has been transmitted. On Earth, Secretary General Osai received the data package moments before the Void Empire representatives demanded a final answer. We have decided, she told them, standing tall despite their intimidating presence. Earth will not surrender the Worldship to you. The lead Void representative's 4 eyes pulsed dangerously. Then you have chosen extinction. Our fleet will secure the Worldship, and then we will cleanse this planet of your primitive species, as we should have done to the Lumina millennia ago. As the representatives turned to leave, Osai activated a hidden control in her podium. On screens around the world, the truth about the Void Empire and their genocidal campaign against the Lumina was broadcast to billions. The genetic connection between humans and the Lumina, the real reason the Worldship had come to Earth, and the Void's intentions to eliminate humanity as a potential threat, all of it laid bare. Global military forces mobilized, but everyone knew Earth's defenses would be meaningless against the advanced technology of the Void Empire. Humanity's fate would be decided in orbit around Mars. The battle had turned desperate. The Venture was crippled, venting atmosphere from multiple breaches. 4 smaller Earth vessels had arrived to join the fight, but they were faring no better against the Void Fleet's overwhelming firepower. On the Worldship's bridge, Eridan suddenly straightened. It's ready, he exclaimed. The primary defense system is online. Rivera moved to his side. What can it do? Everything, Eridan replied, his amber eyes gleaming with determination. But it requires both Lumina and human input to activate. Our creators built this safeguard so the technology could never be used without cooperation between our peoples. He indicated a section of the control panel where 5 hand-shaped impressions glowed with soft light. I need 4 humans to place their hands here, alongside mine. Together, we will awaken the heart of Lumina. Rivera, Parker, Tanaka, and Okafor exchanged glances, then moved into position. What exactly are we activating? Parker asked suspiciously. Not a weapon of destruction, Eridan assured them. Something far more powerful. Are you ready? They nodded, each placing a hand on the glowing impressions as Eridan placed one of his hands in the center. The bridge erupted with light. Energy coursed through the ancient vessel, systems long dormant surging back to life. Outside, the world ship began to glow with a brilliant golden radiance that expanded outward in concentric waves. When the waves reached the void ships, they froze in space, their weapons powering down, their engines disabled. What's happening? Rivera asked, watching the miracle unfold. The heart of Lumina, Eridan explained, his voice filled with reverence. Not a weapon, but a field of pure harmonic energy that neutralizes aggressive technology. It renders weapons inert without harming life forms. The Void Fleet hung helplessly in space, immobilized by the golden field. This is why they feared us, Eridan continued. Not because we could destroy them, but because we could stop them without destruction. The Void Empire is built on conquest and domination. They cannot comprehend power that preserves rather than destroys. Rivera activated her comlink. Earth Command, this is Colonel Rivera. The Void Fleet has been neutralized. I repeat, the Void Fleet has been neutralized. Cheers erupted from the transmission. Secretary General Osei's voice came through clearly. Colonel, can this technology be used to protect Earth? Rivera looked to Eridan, who nodded. Yes, Madam Secretary. But there's more. We've discovered that humanity shares a genetic connection with the Lumina people. This world ship didn't come here by accident. It came here to find allies. Family. There was a pause before Osei responded. Then perhaps it's time we welcomed our long-lost cousins home. Colonel. 3 months later, Colonel Rivera stood on a platform in the newly established Human Lumina Cooperation Center outside Geneva. Beside her stood Eridan and 5,000 of his recently awakened people, their copper skin and 4 arms now a familiar sight on Earth. Secretary General Osei addressed the assembled crowd and the billions watching worldwide. Today marks not just an alliance between 2 peoples, but a reunion of cosmic cousins. The technology of the Lumina, combined with human ingenuity, has already revolutionized our understanding of space travel, energy production, and medicine. In orbit, the world ship now served as the headquarters for the joint Human Lumina Defense Force. The captured Void vessels had been studied and repurposed. Their crews returned to the Void Empire with a message. Earth and its people were under the protection of the heart of Lumina. Any further aggression would be met with the same response. Eridan leaned toward Rivera. Your people have adapted to our presence with remarkable speed, he observed. Humans are good at adapting, she replied with a smile. It's apparently in our DNA, thanks to you. The genetic modifications we made were minor, Eridan reminded her. The greatness of humanity comes from within you. We merely nudged you in a helpful direction. Rivera watched as human and Lumina scientists collaborated on a new project displayed on the massive screens, a fleet of next-generation vessels that would carry representatives of both species to the stars. What happens when the Void Empire returns? She asked. They won't give up so easily. No, Eridan agreed, his amber eyes gazing toward the sky. They won't. But neither will we. For the first time in 10,000 years, my people have hope again. Together, we will build something the Void Empire cannot comprehend. A civilization based on cooperation rather than conquest. As if on cue, the world ship activated its heart of Lumina. sending a pulse of golden energy rippling through Earth's atmosphere, not as a weapon, but as a shield that would protect their shared home from those who would seek to destroy it. "They found our world ship," Eridan said softly. "But in doing so, they found something far more valuable." "What's that?" Rivera asked. Eridan's four hands made the Lumina gesture for future and hope. "They found their place in the universe, and we found ours, together." In the vast darkness of space, beyond the edges of the solar system, Void Empire scouts observed Earth from a distance. The golden shield that now enveloped the planet was impenetrable to their sensors, and the combined human Lumina fleet grew stronger each day. The greatest fear of the Void had come to pass. The last of the Lumina had found sanctuary and allies. The galaxy had changed forever, and at its center stood two species united by ancient bonds and a shared determination to forge a future among the stars. The battle for the Class 105 world ship was over. The next chapter of cosmic history had begun.